All right, guys, after this long break, we are back with more English coverage of the Northern Arena Beat Invitational presented by Bell. This is the first day of the main qualifier playoffs. Very excited to see what goes down here. We are up with a fresh best of three, the Wild Witch Doctors versus Doo-Wop. I'm Android from Moonduck Studios, being joined once again by the lovely Cap. How's it going, man?
I am doing fantastic. I'm super psyched for this game, man, because this is NA Dota at its finest right now. This is really where NA Dota. This is the heart of NA Dota right here. You've got stand up citizen IX Mike 88, aka the Stash, versus Snake King, now known as Snake King, as IX Mike put it in lobby chat because he said he didn't trust that Snake King didn't have a coach
Dude, I've seen these
lying in
guys
wait
go
in
at it
this lobby
before.
chat. Man,
La-
I'm so excited for the alt chat that's gonna happen in this game. Like, if I don't see any question marks and any misspelled words coming out from Mike's Mike, then this game is a loss for everyone.
Yeah, I remember a tournament I did last season. There was some Skype banter going on between Mike and Snake King, and it got to the point where Mike really took the shot, and it became Snake Queen. Either way, Witch Doctor starting things out with some survivability, picking up the axe, picking up the Undying. Where do you see landing these things? Is it for sure going to be Mike jungling, or is there the potential for this offlane?
I think he just straight up jungles. It seems like that's the way the Wild Witch Doctors like to be able to run it. And then Eagle gets his Undying. I had a chat with Eagle not last night, but the night before, about their games. Just because I mean, if you don't remember, like I had some real hesitations about the way they drafted. I thought it was really greedy, and I was like, I'm really surprised you guys didn't get punished by it. But part of the reason they're able to do that is the kind of five positions that Eagle will pick for himself, super team fight oriented. So we have the Undying, and when that got banned away, the Leshrac, that's really unique. And when you have a unique hero pool, that can catch. I think enemies off guard because who in their scrims or in their pubs right now is playing versus Undying and Leshrac? Like very few people, So you kind of can lose track of the strength and weaknesses of some heroes when you don't play against it regularly. It's not that like you don't know, like in your head you know what that hero does, but the feel of what the game is like in game, and this is why it's really important for you to be able to like play games actively, because you need to be able to know what it's like for players, the way the game feels, and a way the game feels against an Undying is very different than any other support. It makes it a lot harder for you to lane. It makes it a lot harder for you to be able to win team fights. Even diving towers is questionable because he also provides a heal. So I think it's something that may catch Doo-Wop off guard. But if I look at the Doo-Wop squad, I think that individually, I think may have more talent on this team with players like Mason. I'm really impressed with Francis, for example, aka Flea in this game. And Jason is, if you haven't heard of him, I think he's probably one of the better up and coming NA players out there.
Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot of up and coming NA heroes here. We'll have to see who comes out on top. Obviously, a lot more than just wins and losses on the line. There is pride, there is salt, there is deep, deep emotion.
Shit talking rights.
Oh,
That's what it comes
absolutely.
down
It
to.
comes down to who can all chat flame the hardest. I think we are in for a treat.
Yeah.
If we got a brief little taste there during the lobby chat, we are definitely in for some fun here. Again, best of three series, so even if this game goes real wacky, there are still two games to redeem ya. Previous game did go to all three series. Just to recap, Infamous took the series 2-1 up against Team Fox, so Infamous moving forward here, Team Fox dropping down. What are your predictions in terms of overall strength? Witch Doctors we casted together a couple of days ago. They looked really really strong. They went 2-0 in their games in the group stages. Doo-Wop they went 1-1, so obviously being beaten out, but they are still definitely a strong team.
Yeah, I think that NP looks like one of the strongest teams in this whole entire tournament. So taking second in your group, when you had NP in your group, I don't think that is really a bad placing by any means. So I think that these two teams are probably matched up fairly evenly Um, I would say it comes down to whether or not Doo-Wop are able to punish Wild Witch Doctors for their greedy playstyle. Now, so far, it's not terribly greedy. What we're seeing is perhaps a 4-position jungling Axe, either that or a Batrider mid, and then Axe is still going to be jungling just as a 3-position. And I thought they would pick up like a really big late game hero because that just seemed to be their style, but apparently not. They're going to go for the Ursa, so they're playing a lot faster. Maybe that has to do with the fact they're on Dire side this time around, and they want to be able to take advantage. Typically, if you're on Dire side, you're going to be a lot more momentum based. More momentum based strategies are on Dire side because of your Roshan advantage that you have access to. It's really easy for you to be able to get the early Aegis and then transition that into tier 2s. Then you get a second Aegis, you go high ground, you get a third Aegis and cheese if it's necessary to close out the game. So maybe that's part of the reason they're switching things up on us. And Doo-Wop is going to be the ones orientating themselves a little bit more towards the late game, but still have to get enough team fight to make this work. And I love the Weaver pickup versus the Ursa.
Yeah, I mean, Weaver, definitely a little bit more self-sustaining than the Ursa. Ursa requires a little bit of support, a little bit of help to really go in for those lane kills. Weaver, you leave him alone for 15, 20 minutes, he comes at you with, BKB or Lincoln Sphere, Desolator, hitting real gosh darn hard. Now we have our Timbersaw. Is this going to be mid Timbersaw off lane? Are we going to see Sand King support, or is that going to be the off lane? Doo-Wop have a little bit of flexibility.
Well, if it's Batrider mid, which I think is what Wild Witch Doctors want to do here, they want to match it up against the Timbersaw mid. I believe that lane goes quite well for the Batrider. I don't see why it wouldn't. So Doo-Wop, I guess, could switch it up. Put Timbersaw in the off lane and make it a different mid. I think Sand King's going to be paired up with Shadow Demon as supports, but as you said, the options are very much open. Wild Witch Doctors at least think it's going to be Sand King off lane here, so they ban away the Oracle. Oracle would have been really problematic for both Batrider and Ursa, so I like that quite a bit. Oracle is even the superior saving hero to Dazzle when there's an Axe on the enemy team, so Oracle is actually a really, really smart ban. While Doo-Wop ban away the Keeper of the Light, Keeper of the Light with this mana leak, really good at being able to lock down both Timbersaw and Weaver. That is also a really smart support to snipe out of the pool. Really, really good looking out by both of these captains.
All right, so Doo-Wop moving on. Obviously can't grab up the Oracle, something that would have been great for all the points you touched on. Are they going to go for a secondary support here, or is Sand King going to fill that role in the roaming 4?
Still not sure. Like I think Timbersaw could probably make the lane mid work. I don't think Timbersaw off lane, because then you're matched up against an Ursa, even without a disabler. It's still a tough lane to go into, and you still don't know what that other support is. So I think you. Okay, maybe not. I was just about to say, I think you kind of have to try and see if it can work for Timbersaw mid against Batrider. I don't think I've seen that matchup very often. But they say no. They're going to make Timbersaw go to the offlane. We will have that Sand King support duo with the Shadow Demon. And Storm Spirit mid against Batrider.
Witch Doctors full greed
shit.
mode. You were saying how their lineup isn't that greedy just yet. Well, throw that out the freaking window. Oh, wow. That's...
I mean, it's all worth it, right? You just countered their mid hero. As long as you can make this 4-position axe. Look, we brought this up. We hadn't seen it from Wild Witch Doctors yet, but they can run a 4-position axe and a offlane Batrider, and that's what they're going to do here. I think.
Oh my.
Or wait.
Yeah, it's not Mike on
What?
the axe. It's Mike on the bat. He's going to be playing that in the offlane. You okay there, Cap?
Yeah. I'm just trying to think of so then Ursa's mid against making Storm Spirit. I was just trying to think of how that matchup would work. And that sounds a little tough for the Ursa, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's definitely a winning lane for the Storm Spirit, but who cares? If he wins his lane and he just gets dumped on by the Animage every single time, who calmly hits his R button when Storm Spirit's on the screen, it's okay. It's okay if the Storm Spirit has a good laning phase as long as you can counter him. So, I think this is good for Wild Witch Doctors, but it is a little clunky, to be perfectly honest. It's a little clunky. It will be easier for Doo-Wop to move from laning phase to early game to mid game, right? Like they have very natural transition points. Wild Witch Doctors are a little clunky, right? Because their laning phase is it's not good for the Ursa, and then they're gonna have this Blink Dagger eventually on the Axe, and that's really between them and the Bat Rider, they have to do a lot in the early game to create space to open up the Roshan pit. And then if they get the Aegis and the Roshan kill in their hands, then things are looking all right. But you can easily see how Doo-Wop, their more natural transition with their supports and their Weaver being able to be aggressive when it needs to, how that could turn into a bad laning phase for Wild Witch Doctors, a bad early game, and then they lose so much control that they can't actually take Roshan for themselves.
I'm just worried about this beef boy lineup that Witch Doctors have going on. I mean, aside from the Bat Rider, they're all ranged, they're all very up in your face, gotta be really close by doing stuff, and Doo-Wop have a lot of mobility tools. I mean, they've got the Timbersaw Timber Chain, they've got Storm Spirit Ball Lightning, Weaver Scoochie. Can Witch Doctors really get on top of the Radiant lineup?
Well, if like one of those mobile heroes is already taken out of the pool in some ways, right? The Storm Spirit, if he's overly mobile, then the Animage is just gonna R button him, and he's gonna die. So then you have to worry about the mobility of the Weaver next up. That's going to be, I think, the hardest thing to deal with. Once the Weaver gets Lincolns, they no longer have like half of their lockdown is gone, right? Because you can't lasso him anymore. And it's unlikely for you to be able to force staff lasso. Weaver just has to be quick with the fingers. So then you're left entirely with Axe's Berserker's Call as the only lockdown against the Weaver. A lot of things are just really weird and clunky for Wild Witch Doctors, but they have the hard counters. So, I don't know. It's going to be a really weird and interesting game, to be sure.
All right, Wave 2's movement was scouted out. He did end up placing that Sentry Ward here. Scouts out the Observer Ward, but he is certainly not going to stick around to deward that. Cannot afford to feed his life like this. I don't know, man. There's a lot of NA prod in the line, but I just like Doo-Wop's lineup a lot better. I think it's going to be a little bit more agile, a little bit more initiation focused, whereas Witch Doctors are just these big old bruisers. But laning phase will tell a lot. I think if Witch Doctors can secure 1 or 2 kills on Storm in the mid lane, absolutely going to be an easier mid game for them. But if Snake King's able to sit back, play safe, get farm, and grab his Ball Lightning without feeling threatened, then Witch Doctors are in for a world of hurt.
Yeah, if you're a fan of, well, there's probably going to be... No. That's actually too dangerous to fight bottom lane. But if you're a fan of easier to execute lineups, you're definitely going to be a fan of Doo-Wops. And normally I am a fan of easier to execute. Like, I think because Dota is a game of mistakes, it works a lot better to just simplify things for yourself. And while the Witch Doctors, like, their timings are so weird, it's like their whole entire Dota game is going to be a whole lot different than what they're used to, most likely. Because of this switching around. But if it works, Eagle's going to look like a genius. If it doesn't, he's going to look like a total goddamn idiot. So we'll see.
I mean, it is a best of 3, so they do have one game to kind of fool around and either gain some momentum for themselves or realize what went wrong and rectify their mistakes here. But so far, Flea getting a decent amount of farm, about to be surrounded upon. Eagle goes in, a couple of soul rips, couple of right clicks, but no real blood initiation yet. Let's check out this very quirky mid. We've got the Ursa versus the Storm Spirit. Ursa not taking too much damage, in fact getting a decent amount of clicks onto Sand King, but obviously the farm from Snake King should surpass the Ursa at a very early time.
Yeah, I mean, he should basically be able to start zoning WWD out with his static remnants at a certain point. Then level 6 hits for the Ursa and things maybe starts getting a little bit easier for him, but level 4 and 5, I imagine, are going to be a bit difficult. But it kind of depends. Like, Ursa could get the kill on Storm Spirit. Even though he's a high armor hero, you close the distance. Earthshock is actually really OP in the early levels. So it's a tough ability to play around, to be honest. What they need to do is have Shadow Demon. He needs a TP as early as possible, because one misstep from Snake King, and he's caught out by the Ursa. So... I don't know. I think I maybe underestimated the power of the Ursa mid against Storm Spirit. I think this is actually, now that I think about it, a lane that he can easily win. But we'll just have to see. The CS so far is going in the Ursa's favor. The top lane is doing a decent job at contesting Animage's CS, or at least it's securing some farm for Francis. So everything is kind of even. It's just the big downfall for Wild Witch Doctors is the fact that Axe did not have a whole lot of camps to work off of, because 3 of them are blocked out. 2 counter wards and Observer Ward dedicated to killing his jungle.
Oh, rotation up here from the Shadow Demon. They really want to go ahead and at least try to lock down Monk. If they can actually get Boris in their grasp, it's going to be a nice, easy day for them. There they go. Oh, they're going to be focusing on Eagle instead. Easier kill. There's less to blink away from. Meanwhile, the first blood happens mid as Ursa is able to tackle that snake, and we talked about that vulnerability pre-level 6, and it is going to pay off for the Ursa. Now, Flea has to be a little bit careful. Wei 2 is going to be reinitiating with a Burrow Strike if he wants, but should be a clean back out, so it's all just a ruse. The real action happened in the mid as Wild Witch Doctor just mans up onto Snake King.
Yeah, that's big, right? Because he's going to be able to hit his level 6 before the Storm Spirit, and maybe, like, I think he's very likely to actually get a second kill on Snake King. Snake King may have to abandon his lane around level 5 and finish up getting his level 6 from the jungle, just because the lane will get real dangerous if... What's he bringing in? Oh, just a little bit of regen. Unfortunately, he doesn't have phase boots yet. I thought maybe if he got that early first blood, he would be able to pick up phase boots with the first courier brought out, but not quite enough gold just yet. Because then with that gigantic movement speed advantage of the Storm Spirit, he could just fully dominate the lane.
Alright, so Ursa, he's going to be sitting back, enjoying, getting a little more mana going for himself so he can just keep Earth Shocking away. Up top, we are going to have a little bit of a big man fight, as they're just going to be equally beaten away in each other. The 2 points from reactive armor are helping out. Flea stay alive. Now rotation mid lane. There's going to be some goodies dropped off for the Sand King and the Shadow Demon, but Axe, he's at the ready. He only has that Iron Talent. You okay?
Mike did it! Wow!
Oh gosh, I did not catch that one.
Oh, and mid, WWD's, he thought about going on Snake King, but never mind. Mike actually somehow managed to get the
Oh, he eats the mango!
down.
One more hit! Oh, Static Remnant. Oh, wow. No.
Alright, that was a game of inches on both sides. Like, first of all, the Weaver was half a second from being able to get... He actually got off Shukuchi and was almost out of range of the fire, but ends up dying at the last half second. And then here, obviously, Snake King lives with, like, 15 HP or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, these tiny, almost chance happenings around the map are going to start setting the pace. Kill score still pretty even. Do-Up have themselves on the map, Witch Doctor's getting a little bit more. Overall farm, though, Axe obviously in the jungle, getting what he needs to get. But Anti-Mage is being slowed down just a little bit. He has felt the pressure of this dual lane. Now, Smoke immediately not going to be working out there, as Eagle is going to be pinged out. Looks like there is a bit of a dive here. Flea trying to maybe force some rotations, draw everyone out from underneath the tower. But support duo, they leave. They've got their eyes on bigger prizes. Maybe trying to rotate mid and pick off this Ursa before he becomes an issue.
That was the silliest smoke I think I've ever seen. Like, you're just so close to the tower, it's like...
Like, why?
Taken, yeah.
Alright, Ursa. Well, looks like he's going to be surrounded upon by 3. He's just going to try to man up. There is going to be that disruption to try to get some damage going out. A little bit of lockdown, but he's just real tanky with that 4-man shield. Now there is going to be a tombstone dropped out, trying to turn this onto Snake King. He's super low mana, can't ball lightning away, but in the end, rotation from Undying does stop the fight in its tracks.
He didn't even have to use Enrage there. That gank wasn't even close. He was like, he knew he was going to survive, and he had such confidence that he was holding on to the Enrage to see if he could actually get the enemy team to overcommit for that attempted kill. But didn't quite happen. Didn't actually get the turnaround option, and will bring himself yet another healing salve.
Now, Weaver down bottom, not looking to try to man up on IX Mike, although it is definitely a possibility. Mike!
XD! Ah!
You know,
Mason, get him.
maybe your 6K analysis can bring to light what the hell just happened there with Mike traipsing under the Weaver's nose.
I believe Mike thought he was going to flush the Weaver out into the axe, but it didn't actually work out that way, and that's why he was playing aggressive and ends up just dying to the Weaver. Now they're going to try and catch up. Eagle, this should be a free kill.
Although there is going to be the
does have his
anti-mage.
ult.
Might be trying to turn things onto Snake King, but instead just blinking back to freedom, not getting too carried away. Now rotation in. Ursa, he has something to say about this. Anti-mage now looks to be wrapping around, bringing in the tail, but this should be the end of the fight. Anti-mage just wants to go back to stacking and farming and doing anti-mage things. He's picked up a headdress nice and early. Do you think he finishes off with Vlad's, or does he go into an early Battle Fury? What's he going to grab?
I think for the Anti-Mage, I guess he can pick up the Vlads, and then the Ursa can just pick up a regular mask and not actually go for Vlads. Anti-Mage, maybe with the pressure that he's feeling in lane a bit, wants to be able to have that early game. He actually, not other than he finishes up Battle Fury and then goes back for the Vlads. The ring of the headdress is just a really value stat item for you to be able to get some early regen in lane.
Oh no, Mike, he went up really far again, trying to flesh out Jason, but will pay the price. He grabs up way too in that lasso, but there's going to be that disrupt to try to save his life way too. He's burning, he's got 3 stacks of napalm. Can Mike finish the job? He will. He loses his life in the process, but they are going to be bringing in the axe as well as the Ursa. These guys now hot on the heels of Snake King. He's virtually manaless. He's got one little leap left for himself. Will be able to get slapped down by Axe's axe, and now we do have Eagle on the back lines, looking to continue the pressure. There is going to be little Weaver coming back in. All right.
Dunked.
Timbersaw gets dunked. Axe in a little bit of a sticky situation. Does he stick around and help the Ursa or leave Ursa to die? Well, Ursa, he doesn't have that ulti to his name, so he is going to be heading down. And now Axe might be in a sticky situation as well. There is a decent turnaround available. No more mana for disruptions, but Way 2 does have that burrow strike in another 2 seconds. Got to be really careful. The turnaround will come. Axe overstays his welcome after getting a really, really nice couple of culling blades. Ends up feeding Weaver a decent amount of gold.
Oh man, that could have been so good if he called when the Weaver had gone through him and he had the Sand King on him. He could have actually gotten the Sand King kill with if he gets the call and he gets the spin. He gets a Culling Blade kill on the Sand King, and then he could just run himself away. But I think turning in the first place was, in general, just a bad idea. It was pretty clear that the Ursa was dead as soon as he got disrupted. There's no way you can save him. Just abandon ship. Like, honestly, you did pretty well for yourself in that bottom fight. Losing the Ursa was still worth it, but if you give away the axe as well, obviously the story becomes a little bit cloudier.
Yeah, here at 10 minutes in, Anti-Mage still taking complete charge of the last hits. Timbersaw not doing too poorly, but there's a huge gap forming as Boris has just been able to get a little bit too much freedom. Overall net worth, though, Weaver going to be the leader in that just because of the kills he's been able to find up against Mike in lane. He's 3-1-1. Should be pretty easy for him to get some space now. Not going to be too scared by this bat. In fact, bat might be going down again. Snake King is here. There's going to be a lasso, but Mike might be the one in trouble. The little buggies are munching away at him. Oh, Weaver wants to get this. Oh! Not going to be able to finish off the Batrider as he is going to gobble up a Fairy Fire. The Germinate attack not going to be there to do enough damage.
Well, they almost have, looks like Jubei, I think it's a difference in playstyle. Most of the time, I think the off-lane axes should always go for Vanguard first, before the Blink Dagger, but it looks like Jubei, on his 4-position axe, wants to go the Blink Dagger. And I'm okay with this. I think they need the extra bit of initiation as much as possible earlier on in the game, because, as I said, it's up to the Batrider, it's up to Mike and Jubei, the Batrider and the axe, to be able to get pickoffs and create space for the Ursa to be able to go into the Roshan pit.
Yeah, I mean, there's so little gap close. You mentioned it. It's the lasso, it's the blink call, and after that, you've got to get Witch Doctors rotating in on the same target. But again, slippery heroes like the Weaver, the Storm Spirit, Timbersaw with his Timber Chain, they make that so difficult. You kind of need Anti-Mage in the vicinity to keep mana burning everyone up, but Anti-Mage just wants to sit back and farm for now. So the more initiations you can get with just the axe and his buddies, like IX Mike on the bat, the better. And then mid lane,
Eagle.
Anti-Mage. Oh. Yeah, up top. There's going to be a nice little engage coming back in. Shadow Poison sprays out. They are able to start up the epicenter channel, but Ursa just turning, trying to man up. There will be the epicenter continuing on as the defensive disruption tries to keep Way 2 alive. Unfortunately, one helix means he does drop down to the grave. Now this tombstone going to get focused in, but IX Mike joins the party, does have the lasso available. Can they keep eyes on this Weaver? That's the question. Snake King comes in. Oh, he's going to get lassoed up though. There's a culling blade. Very nice play there from the axe. He goes in for the call to get the bonus armor, trying to keep the Weaver off his back, but I think Weaver will still end up finishing the job. And now they're looking to be able to take out Flea here. He pushed in really, really far. Curious Chakram right there, but in the end, IX Mike picks up another kill.
Yeah, the fact that he managed to get the chop onto the Storm Spirit and then gets the space to be able to get the call off and survives through that one auto attack is so big because the chop gave him the gold for the Blink Dagger, and then the fact that he armored up and survived through that right click meant it gave him the time to buy that Blink Dagger. So our axe lost no gold whatsoever. It was like all reliable gold that was left in the tank. Juve got everything he ever wanted out of that fight. It seems like Wild Witch Doctors, their timings were a little awkward and stuff like that, but it does seem to be working out for them really well. The next step is taking Roshan and getting that Aegis in their hands.
It's still real early on, but this net worth chart's a hot mess.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad for Doo-Wop until that top fight. That's what I wanted to point out. Eagle was sitting in the trees. They had the ward out that was seeing just how aggressive Doo-Wop. They really, really wanted to jump in. It was very clear. So Eagle just put himself deep in the trees and it was waiting because he knew the tombstone was the ultimate turnaround.
Alright, now Ursa, he's angry, but the rest of the Radiant heroes are in the vicinity. Going to be a nice observer ward plop down here. They don't have vision of this Weaver. Now they're going to find him out. They'll call there onto Snake King. Can IX Mike getting quick enough to follow him with the lasso? There he goes. Storm Spirit going to be disrupted up, but a Culling Blade swings through in the meantime. Flame Break trying to keep this Storm Spirit at bay. He's hasted up. Oh, but IX Mike right hot on his heels. Call off the mark. In fact, Snake King looking to turn things on the aggressive, diving back in. He's battle hungered up. There's going to be a Burrow Strike trying to lock down Mike, but Snake King, he's still so close. The Ursa now going to be just running around trying to get something done. Axe does end up falling. Alright, Ursa, he's just manically trying to make something happen now, standing in the chakram. He's negating a lot of the damage, courtesy of his ultimate, but it's Ursa versus the world right here. I don't think he can take anyone down with him. Unfortunately, Weaver picking up another kill against him. Now Eagle, underneath the tier 2 tower, might still be in some trouble. Is going to be going in, trying to heal himself up, but it's going to be a double kill for the Weaver. Able to time-lapse himself back to almost full health. What a gosh darn great fight there for Doo-Wop, turning things right back into their favor. Now Anti-Mage looking to try to make things even. He knows the Timbersaw's got no mana, but how much damage can Boris really afford to take from this Weaver? He has to blink back, has to make sure he gets away to safety, and leaves the Timbersaw off with a warning this time.
Juve may still actually try and make a go of this, but he ends up missing Francis there, and we'll have to back up. That was... I think Boris really messed up that fight. Like, it wasn't a very effective ultimate that he threw down. He also ran to mid saying, okay, the fight's over, but not expecting that they would dive to tier 2. So he wasn't there to actually punish that. The rest of the fight, I think, from Wild Witch Doctors looked pretty decent, especially the opening. But the fact that they weren't able to close out, really great read by Snake King, by the way. Turning on that fight, I thought Snake King was a madman, but he knew the Timbersaw was coming. And sure enough, he kind of baited the whole entire Wild Witch Doctors team into continuing to engage, and the Timbersaw came in and just cleaned house.
I mean, Snake King's been doing a pretty good job of eating spells, and he's relying so heavily on the Shadow Demon, and their communication's been really on point. You were talking in draft about Jason being one of these up-and-coming NA stars, and absolutely, at this point, he's been playing completely on the money. All the disruptions have been pretty life-saving.
There is finally Mr. Roshan goes down. You knew it was just a matter of time. Doo-Wop, I don't think they're really upset by this. Obviously, it's amazing if you can take the Roshan option away from the Ursa team, but most likely it's going to go to their hands. It's too hard to keep control of that.
Oh,
snaking though.
Yeah, this could be a bit of a trouble here, but the rest of the Radiant team are on the way. There is going to be an epicenter available, now getting channeled up. Can they lock down Way 2 in time? Hell nah! The axe is going to be going down. Now Way 2 hops into that sandstorm. The rest of the Dire, though, they're angry. They bring in the Weaver, who's now doing so much damage. TP out from this Shadow Demon. I don't think they can stop it, so it's going to be an axe for a Storm Spirit. In the end, that is going to favor the Wild Witch Doctors. If the
Yep.
fight ends here, though, Weaver
Full on worth.
continuing the charge, popping out those 2 attacks, but not going to be doing Ursa much harm.
Weaver's playing the distance game pretty well. Mason picking up the Dragonlance, given the Weaver essentially he's now a full 600 range hero, like most others. So he gets to play the distance game, and he's just staying one step ahead of heroes like the Ursa for the most part. And it's part of the reason why they're staying in some of these fights so well. But now...
Axe goes in. There's a follow-up from Eagle. He doesn't have the tombstone to put down, so the AoE control is going to be a bit difficult. Mike goes in. Mike goes right back out as he's just getting burned out too quickly. Weaver sitting there finishing the tower like there's no heroes after him, like there's no big deal. Now Axe goes in. The call not going to be too successful. Ursa jumping forward, popping into that ulti. They are able to get the kill onto the Shadow Demon, but IX Mike is picked off by the Weaver, who's just been bopping around like he's having the best game of his life. Now the Aegis going to be coming back. They want to lock down the Ursa. He immediately blinks back to safety. Weaver, this might be their best opportunity to take him out, and they finally do. That's almost 700 gold going to Jubei on the Axe. Now the fight is going to continue as the rest of the Radiant heroes want to walk
Snaking?
away. Except for Snaking, who continues to walk into the wad of damage.
I am almost positive he hit the R button and then tried to click down left, but accidentally hit the top right of his map. Because there is obviously no reason for him to ever ball back towards the enemy side of the map like that. That was such a silly death. In a team fight that was already, kind of bad for Duop, but it just got so much worse, the fact that Snake King fed away that kill.
I mean, the bright light at the end of the tunnel for that one is that Storm of Spirit doesn't have the completed Bloodstone yet, so he didn't lose any charges from that one. But yeah, still...
I will counter-propose that and say there is a darkness in that
Storm Spirit doesn't have
still
a
does not have Bloodstone. It's both a curse, it's both a blessing and a curse in many ways.
Alright, well things are moving forward. 18 minutes in, this mountain range of a net worth chart is starting to slip into the Witch Doctor's favor. We had a lot of questions about this draft, but somehow, courtesy of a couple mistakes from Duop and a couple clutch plays from the Witch Doctors, they're grabbing onto this, taking hold, and their cores are only going to get bigger as they jump in. This Weaver, that pest has been exterminated. They can continue to move forward onto Jason as well, but he's going to back up to a safe distance and just let this happen.
Man, Jason, he was relatively close, but it still wasn't enough to be able to get there in time for the disruption.
Over
the
here.
The damage just comes so quickly.
Oh, Eagle. After all some of the fights we've had, I'm surprised there's been all chat flame.
Yeah, I'm a little bit confused by that. We've had one XD, which checks
was
off
well deserved.
Yeah, if you're playing like the get out your NA Dota bingo cards, if you would, you gotta check out the XD, but we haven't gotten the question mark just yet. We also haven't had any insults outside of lobby chat be thrown out so far. So I'm still excited. I'm sure that'll happen. It's only 20 minutes into game 1 of a best of 3, so.
Alright, now we got Boris just sitting there eating a couple tower shots and should be able to finish off this tier 1 pretty easily as Snake King's going to be focusing towards the mid. He's working on that Bloodstone, let me tell you, but still 1,000 gold away. So overall pacing. I mean, Anti-Mage has his Battle Fury, he's got his Yasha. Is this a Witch Doctor power spike, or are they going to continue to play passively and wait for even more?
I think this is definitely like they've almost hit their full swing of the game. I think it's very unlikely that Duop come back because they had to be able to build the momentum from 10 to 20 minutes, and it never happened. So now that we're at this point where while the Witch Doctors aren't just even in the game, they're actually ahead. They've gotten Roshan number 1, Roshan number 2 is coming up. There isn't that many towers been taken by Duop. While the Witch Doctors almost have all of their core items. In fact, Boris almost has Manta. He's closing in on that item. That almost seals it once he has that Manta.
Alright, now Scan is going to clip out the smoke gank coming in as Jubei is getting ready to initiate IX Mike. I mean, he's getting low, but he is just the front line of this fight. Doesn't matter if he goes down as long as he drags these yummy, yummy cores back to the rest of the waiting jaws of the Witch Doctors. They are able to get an easy pick on the Shadow Demon, but now harder cores await. They are trying to get their focus down. Meanwhile, Weaver might be able to get the pick on Jubei, but it looks like he's manning up, trying to get onto this buggy, is able to clean it up in time. So overall, it's going to be 2 for 0. Not even losing the axe that was frontlining. The Batrider stays alive with a successful lasso. Now holding onto the gem as well. IX Mike has a little more pressure on him moving forward, that he can't just kind of YOLO into these fights, but his playstyle's calmed down a little bit. He's not going for those very, very deep dives. He's playing really solid right now.
Yeah, he got a sick flame break that was aimed at the Shadow Demon who was TPing out, but in the AoE, it also hit the Timber Saw. So the Timber Saw's TP also got canceled and eventually forced his Bloodstone suicide that we caught. But that was a real bad fight. That's one Bloodstone that is down to 8 charges. Snake King is about to get his, and if he dies or doesn't even get the Bloodstone because he's about to get caught, the game is going to look really, really tough for Dewop.
And that is another taunt coming out of Eagle, and Bloodstone still unfinished for the Storm Spirit. Courier went down, and I believe it had the recipe on it.
What recipe did it have?
Storm's Bloodstone.
Missing there. Oh. Well, at least you didn't lose those Bloodstone charges,
Dude,
Snake King.
Gotta look at that glass half full. True NA Dota fashion. Keep it positive. Ignore any sort of negative flame. Always keep that the happy mental attitude. That is the North American Dota scene in a nutshell. I don't think anyone can correct me on that.
Yeah, I mean, really, look at the people who represent NA Dota. First of all, you've got Arteezy, the creator of PMA, and then you have Sir Action Slacks, who created a whole entire video on communication and PMA and pubs. NA Dota is very blessed in that regard with good role models.
Oh, absolutely here. Now, speaking of good role models, IX Mike waiting in the tree line here, wants to get the kill onto Flea, but Francis playing very far back. Not going to be playing too far forward anymore. He has that suicide on cooldown, 8 charges in the Bloodstone. He's got to get himself together. He's going to be picking up the Yule Scepter for a little bit more defensive play.
This is, Dewop, I think, have to go for a smoke and interrupt Roshan to have a chance of coming back in this game. Like, they have to make that kind of big level play happen. Because I'm just watching this Animage, like, he's getting bigger and bigger. He has the Manta. Next thing you know, he's going to have, like, Heart or Abyssal Blade. He's going to be unkillable, or he's going to be unstoppable, one or the other.
Look at that blink reaction. I don't think that was intentional. I think Ursa just got the perfect blink timing as he finished off that Ancient Camp.
And all the meanwhile, they are messing around and trying to get an Ursa and push down that tier 2, but Animage is getting a free tier 2 at top, so...
Yeah,
oh god, he hit the call!
Yup, that's a very dead Weaver. Weaver looked so strong early on, picking up killing sprees and triple kills and whatnot, but he's just being mopped up in these later team fights. Now, Roche timer is broken for me. I don't know about you, but it is like a sundial Roche. We got no ticks. There we go. He's back.
Oh god, that was an awful call.
Oh
Axe
gosh.
is mega dead.
Yeah, unfortunately, overstays is welcome, but everyone else should be able to get out alive, even with the Timber Chain and the Ball Lightning. They aren't going to be able to dive deep enough to connect onto the AM unless he goes back into the mid lane to continue pushing. Risky play there from Boris, but not going to get punished this time.
And too bad with the Weaver down, they can't actually go for Roshan themselves, so it just means, like, by default, it goes back to Wild the Witch Doctors. In fact, the Ursa's even going to do it now. Even though the axe is dead, they can afford to risk it. Undying even throws down the tombstone, just in case. It'll scout out anybody who comes across. Ooh, Dewop though. This is the big play. This is the potential, like, big game changer. They could stop this and get Roshan for themselves.
Gonna be going in. There's gonna be a BKB out from the Ursa. He's got his eyes on the prize. Meanwhile, there's gonna be the Ursa getting down the Sand King, just manning up in the pit. We got Snake King going in, getting the tether onto Eagle. Eagle drops, but oh! Storm Spirit does deny. His first use of the Bloodstone is to kill himself. And now we've got the Ursa fighting to the very last breath. Does get down the Shadow Demon eventually. Now there is going to be the time lapse committed, but Monk, he's hot on the trails of this Weaver, popping the Lincolns out. They got to keep the vision up. They've got the gem on the Batrider, but he's got to be close enough. Batrider now distracted, focusing down this Timbersaw. Going to be a little bit hard to chop him out. He's got reactive armor for days, but well, eventually does get slapped out. So 2 survivors, the Weaver and the Storm, but unfortunately, the Ursa going down means that he isn't able to claim that delicious Aegis. They're going to be giving it to the Anti-Mage instead.
that looks so good for one moment, where you're like looking at it like 4 people smoked up going to the Roshan pit where there's only 2 people, but then Ursa had a BKB and they just turned, and the counter ward was already set up on the cliff, so then immediately the Sand King dies. You know, he tries to go in, but he sandstorms as soon as the BKB goes down, and he can't even hide there because the counter ward is up on the cliff. He dies, and the whole entire fight just changes just from that one instant kill.
All right, so, I mean, overall pace is starting to get set by the Witch Doctors. I really feared for these guys in their laning phase because they are just big tanky bruisers, not a whole lot of initiation, but they're absolutely making it work. The confidence of these guys to move forward, be in kind of questionable positions at times, is getting them the kills. I mean, they've effectively shut down the Weaver for the last 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, they certainly have. Weaver hasn't had that progression that you'd really like to see. A Sage being picked up.
Halberd, bruh.
I guess so. You've got to get, like, this is going to be the wet noodle Weaver. That's what this is, because you've got no damage items.
You say wet noodle, I say hot spaghetti. Like, he's going to be going in and actually doing a fair amount of utility. If he's able to go spray out bugs onto everyone, stop the AM from right-clicking, I think
utility,
it's worthwhile.
Yes, but where's their damage come from?
I mean,
it's got
Shadow Demon with those 77 damage right-clicks, dude. No.
I guess so. The poor guy, like, he's got Dragonlance, Lincoln Sphere, and now he's gonna go a Halberd. Like, he's gonna be tanky as hell. I'll give him that much, but he's not gonna be outputting too much damage in comparison to someone like the Animage, who is just as tanky and outputs almost like twice as much damage. Probably easily twice as much damage, if not almost triple with Manta and Mana Void being used. So there's a lot of potential for AM to single-handedly win a team fight almost, and then Doo-Wop have to play like really well as a 5-man around each other just to be able to have a chance.
Alright, so it's looking good for the Witch Doctors, but, you know, as this scales into late game, because of the nature of this lineup, what are some problems Witch Doctors are going to be facing?
I don't know. They don't really have that bad of high ground. They've got Animage, who's quite good at it.
He's gonna get called. He's blade mailed onto. Will they allow him the chance to time lapse? There he goes. The call ends, and Weaver is able to skirt away. Tombstone's up, so Zombie is gonna be picking on the bug, but in the backlines, you've got Anti-Mage wandering around still with the Aegis. He can afford to play a little bit far forward. There's the Lincoln's Pop that's going to be shown off, debuted. Picks off the Shadow Demon. Now Eagle, he's flesh golemed up, continuing to traipse forward. They want to catch out Flea. He's going to pop that defensive Yule. Should be able to Timber Chain back up to the high ground, but not before some pretty intense losses. Weaver down without buyback. Shadow Demon down. Can't go through, can't disrupt, can't send out illusions. This tier 2 is most likely going to be crumbling soon.
Well, still another 2 minutes for that Aegis, so while the Witch Doctors can keep going, they could take tier 2 bottom. They could either go high ground if they really wanted to try, or they could just go straight up. It's the TP roll. TP roll. You know, you just gotta show them that you mean business, you know? That you're not just gonna sit back and let them take your tier 2 tower, that you're gonna have something to say about it, even if it does mean just a small pittance of damage.
Alright, now Way 2 is gonna be pushing up a little bit, forcing this wave to the tier 2 tower, but he's gotta realize that Sand King is such an easy target at this point, because yeah, he can Burrow Strike, but I mean, there's calls in, there's Batrunner lassos, there's just a decent amount of gap close now that Witch Doctors have been able to pick up the Blinks and the heroes that want them now. Speaking of Blinks, we could see an initiation coming out of Snake King, zipping back up to the high ground, but there's zombies on board here. The creep wave is going to decimate. There's a Blink forward onto the Weaver. This time, no time lapse. Snake King is able to zip out in time. Monk taking a decent amount of damage, moving forward, wanting to use the Aegis to the best of his ability, is able to pick off the Storm Spirit, and there's no buyback now. This could be getting close to the end, as AM still has another full life. And the GG called out for game number 1. The Witch Doctors, with a very creative draft, execute cleanly after a couple of fumbles in the early game.
Yeah, I'm trying to think, like, what in the laning phase really went so well for them. There were some small things. Oh, it was Ursa dominating the Storm Spirit. Like, you're already playing Storm Spirit against an Animage, but then your laning phase goes against you by the Ursa putting pressure. Like, granted, yeah, Snake King did get a return kill later on, but still, the fact that just the fact that it was hard for the Storm Spirit, like, he had a rough game just to begin with, and then had to go against an Animage, was already a terrible position for him to be in. Like, that really set them back. And then the Axe being able to get enough out of the jungle that once he had that Blink Dagger, he had some really big calls, like multiple times, catching out the Weaver and locking him down, and just being able to allow the rest of his team to follow up. I think those were two of the main things that allowed Wild Witch Doctors to be able to lead this victory. But obviously the biggest one was the draft, right? The draft of being able to last pick the AM against a Storm Spirit, pulling the old switcheroo and putting the Axe as a 4 position. That destroyed anything that Mason's team could have done, just because they didn't really have the heroes to punish the laning phase very well. So they just had to hit really hard at 15 minutes and couldn't do enough.
Yeah, I mean, just one other thing to point out here on the player items. We talked about, Witch Doctors going for that risky strat that's all melee. They have to have gap close. Look at the Blink Dagger timings here. They're all on the Dire side before Sand King on the Radiant's able to get his. So just that mobility was there. They're able to punish heroes not getting in and out in time. Just really well executed from the Witch Doctors. Again, game number 1 of a best of 3. So potentially 2 more games of this hot NA action. Stick around. I'm Annie. That's Cap. See you guys in a few.